Kate. It's so lovely to meet you, and thank you so much for taking time to just join me on this exciting webinar, which is going to touch a topic that is very close to my heart and obviously the hearts of the moms that are watching us today. Won't you just introduce yourself and just especially fill me in with your area of expertise and what you're currently actually involved with?
Okay, thanks, Kath, and thanks for inviting me to do this. It's very exciting, and this is stuff that I'm very passionate about. So my name is Kate Armstrong, and I'm an educational psychologist, and I've been working in Cape Town for the last 20 or so years. And in all the work I've done with families, I've just realized that the earlier we work with children, the better the outcomes are. And I've had the privilege of working with families with a range of emotional, behavioral problems, academic issues. But all the time, when I say catch families with adolescent children or even older children in later in childhood, I thought if only we could have supported these families early on. So I became very interested in early interventions and infant mental health. And I'm currently doing the master's that's offered at Stellenbosch University. It's a brand new degree which just focuses on infant mental health. So it's from conception to age 3 is the age we're working with. I also, alongside of this, I've done some neuroscience training. So I've become very interested in the brain development and why our brains have evolved to feel emotions. And in this training that I was doing, we have followed the work of an evolutionary behaviorist called Jaap Pansek. And he traced 7 primal circuits in the brain that we all have. And they start with there's anger, fear, seeking, anger, fear, lust, care, grief, and play. And they're the primal circuits that we share with all the mammals. And when we were learning about the care circuit, this is where the idea of the developing brain and how the attachment relationship in mammals that forms the care and the bonding, why it's evolved, and how it can be sustained, and what impact that has for parenting. Because I think sometimes parenting has, people do things, it's because my granny did it, or it felt right, or this is how it should be. So this approach to parenting is really based in neuroscience and evolutionary biology of what works, what Mother Nature has given us, and how we can utilize it and kind of return a little bit to our instincts. So I've been running, over the last 3 years, I've been running workshops for parents, of pregnant parents of, well, actually anyone that has anything to do with babies. So I've been running those in the southern suburbs and become very interested in parents' relationships with their infants.
Oh, that's amazing. And absolutely, I mean, why I approached you and why I contacted you was the whole reality of attachment between mom and baby. And that's really what we are obviously wanting to discuss today. So maybe you want to just really go into just what are the stages of attachments in a baby's life. And then maybe just you can go into just discussing the role of mom and dad during those stages.
So, I mean, babies arrive in the world where actually I think attachment starts pre-birth, that mums obviously carrying the baby start having a relationship. So attachment is the relationship between the baby and the primary caregiver. And babies arrive in the world and are primed to attach. The baby's job in the world is to get mum to fall in love with it, to keep the baby alive. So what we're looking at is really utilizing those circuits, those neural circuits and all that's there already to really cement this bond with the baby for mum's well-being and baby's survival. So, I mean, the attachment relationship, I feel, begins during pregnancy, where mum starts to form a relationship, and dad, with the child before it's born. And obviously, the point of the attachment relationship is that we want for children to grow up feeling, safe, seen, secured, so that they can explore the world and function in the world from a confident, secure base, which is made through the attachment relationship. So if the child grows up in an environment where it feels loved and valued, then the child will be much more likely to explore the world in a confident way than if the child's raised in an environment where there's a lot of anxiety or aggression or violence on extreme ends. So the attachment relationship really is the foundation of how the child sees itself in the world, and therefore whether the world is a safe place to go and explore and engage in, or whether we want to withdraw because the world's too scary. So the primary caregiver becomes really the conduit for the child and the outside world.
Okay, makes total sense. So what would you say would be a mom's role in the initial stage of probably birth and kind of post-birth?
Yeah. So there's a hierarchy of attachment figures. So mum is obviously the primary one, but then we have dad, and then there'll be granny and siblings and caregivers and teachers. But research has shown that the relationship with the primary caregiver is the most important, and the primary caregiver often can also form as a buffer in life to other not so good relationships. So maybe children in school, if they've had a mean teacher or somebody who's not been so helpful or empathic, mum is the home base. And if their relationship with mum is good and secure, it can really buffer a lot of other sort of not so optimal relationships. So mum, from the word go, the baby is born primed to engage. They come out, and I think historically we felt babies, we kind of just see them as a little, kind of amorphous thing that's not a person. And what we've learned, especially with the huge increase in neural imagery of brains, is these babies are really wired for social engagement. And there's loads of research showing how babies recognize mother's voice, mother's face, mother's smell. So they arrive with all the fundamental priming to connect and form this relationship. And so I think what mums and parents, their role can really be to just watch for these cues. The baby will initiate cues of needing to attach. And that delicate dance that is formed between mum and baby and dad and baby, reading those subtle cues and seeing them as real initiations of communication. I think we've underestimated the capacities of a baby. So the newborn, and it's a really challenging time for mums and dads, because they are filled with fear and anxiety. But this idea that, take the cue from the baby, see the baby as giving out subtle signs that they want to connect, and start to try and read them and figure this little baby has its own mind. So that's how the relationship starts.
Wonderful. No, that's really exciting. It's actually a very special thing, and just amazing how nature has just really inbuilt that in us, and how we do desire that as parents. But what's lovely that you say, and the child also desires that, which is also fantastic. So it's it's a two-way thing already from a young age, which is amazing. But now
I think that. Sorry, Kath. I think that's the thing, that it's very much two-way. And the child is teaching the parents as much as the parent teaches the child.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, and I think what's so lovely is to see each child as unique. So if this is on your second child, it's going to be a whole new relationship, because it's a new child that's wired differently, that has different preferences, and is going to give out different cues. So I think it's a lot about parents understanding that it's learning that they need to do with this unique little child, new one. There's not kind of a blueprint that if it worked for one sibling, it's going to work for the next. And the idea of this, I don't know, parents might have heard of this idea of serve and return. So it's a little bit like a tennis match. The child serves a cue, and the parent must return it. And that's how the attachment relationship is formed.
That's wonderful, like a bit like a tennis match.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, we're going to just have a break and then we'll come back and then just talk about some of the challenges that we're facing at the moment during this pandemic, and just also exploring a bit about things around birth that maybe didn't go as planned and what that means for attachment and for the mom. So we'll be back in a minute.